So, 9.18 has been out for over a week now, and I wanted to release a video reviewing the best comps from last week and talk about updates to the meta as we've been playing it over the last week. If you missed my 9.18 best compositions video, you can find a link to that on screen and down below in the description, and you can familiarize yourself with what's working right now. The best comps in general are similar to what they were when the patch was released last week. However, we're now seeing a lot more experimentation with yordles and wilds being mixed in. So in today's video, we'll be going more in depth into what makes these comps so good and what you need to be looking out for to find success. The core of what makes the best comps right now work is basically an eternal struggle between Void Assassin and Shapeshifters, and you've probably seen a ton of this in your games. Void Assassin is probably the #1 build in the game right now, and honestly is at a level that might even need a hotfix to improve the situation, though it's likely we won't see anything until next week with 9.19's release on Wednesday, 9/25. So let's go over Void Assassin first, what makes it work, and what to be on the lookout for. This is the late game version of the build that you can expect to see a lot of in your games. The idea is to get 3 to 4 Void units and 6 Assassins while converting one of your Void into an Assassin with a Ghost Blade. This target should almost always be Kassadin, as with the Assassin bonus and Kassadin's natural strengths, he can be effective all game long and will often be the most damaging unit even at the very end of the match. The core Voids you want are Kha'Zix, Kassadin, and Cho'Gath, but you can put in Rek'Sai as the 4th Void, as it will give you the 2 Brawler bonus with Cho'Gath, and it will make Rek'Sai deal true damage along with the rest of the Void units. Cho'Gath and Rek'Sai together make great meat shields that distract the enemy units long enough for your assassins to, well, assassinate. Then you can finish off with 4 more assassins. The most common of these are Pyke for the team-wide stun that he provides, Evelynn for execute damage, Akali for loads of ability damage, and then a flex assassin that's usually Rengar, who can provide a reliable amount of CC and tends to get good burst once he starts using his ultimate. Ghostblade is a requirement for this build, and oftentimes you'll see players intentionally losing the first half of stage 2 so that they can get to the carousel and be first pick and pick up an early spatula. There's a good deal of flex for items in this build outside of that, but usually you want to get your carry items on Kassadin and Akali. You can beef out Rengar or Evelynn if you like, and then get some general purpose use items for Cho'Gath and Pyke, like a Morella Namaka. Positioning wise, your goal is to put your non-assassin units far in the back, so the enemy team will aggro them at the start of the round and move forward, disrupting any positioning they had and leaving room for your assassins to rip them apart. The further away, the better in this case. So you want to pay attention to what your enemies are doing and where they're placing their units. The safest position that works against most enemy positions, if you aren't sure where to place your stuff, is to place Cho'Gath and Rek'Sai and other non-stealth units you have in the back center of the arena, so that if they're positioned on the back left or the back right on the enemy side, they still will walk pretty far to trigger these non-stealth units into combat. Early game, your goal is to immediately secure Kha'Zix and Kassadin to at least 2-star, if not 3-star if possible. These are the most pressing as they are 1-cost units, very important to the build, and as you level up, they will get harder to find. If you have the income and you aren't being pressured, you can even hyper roll to get some 3-stars here at mid-game if you like. Next, you want to ideally get Zed and Pyke to give you the 3 assassin bonus. Zed is also an excellent target for your early game carry items, as he is a powerhouse in the first few stages of the game and will likely be your most damaging units until you get to late game. So by mid game, you want to be rocking 3 Void and 3 Assassin with Kha'Zix, Kassadin, Rek'Sai, Zed, and Pyke. This is your ideal mid-game composition. This combo alone should easily get you through mid-game with a respectable amount of wins. Now, as you enter into late game, you'll want to start looking for Akali to replace Zed, so you can keep your 1 ninja bonus active, then pick up your remaining assassins and add in Cho'Gath when you can. It's a comp that once completed is very difficult to beat, and will usually only lose to a shifter build where the player running it is generally just overall ahead of either they have more items, better items, or their units are just higher level than yours. This is because the void bonus means that you ignore magic and physical defenses, and you have a large amount of burst coming from the assassins that work really well on units that get pulled away from their positioning. Be careful about shifter builds that have a lot of CC as well, as once Gnar gets a Darkin or there's a Sejuani on the enemy team, the massive CC can shut you down pretty quick. The positioning of the other assassins besides your non-stealth units doesn't really matter a crazy amount. You just want to make sure that if there are hex tech in the game, you're not putting those units near each other if they have items, and then try to have Pike on one side or the other, so he's more likely to jump over the entire enemy team when he uses his ultimate and gets a really good stun. You want a diagonal angle for him. I also wanted to take a moment to thank today's video sponsor, PlayVig. PlayVig is a way to earn cash while you play games, and has already awarded over $1 million in prizes to players. So if you're already playing a game, you could be earning cash at the same time. PlayVig also now runs Universal Leaderboard Weekend Warrior events that analyze all games played in their system and award points to each player on the leaderboards against other players based on the achievements and performance you do in your match. On screen, you'll see the times and details for the Weekend Warrior Universal Leaderboard events. Collect coins for completing quests or compete against others in their leaderboard events, and redeem these coins for cash, gift cards, or gaming gear and merchandise in the PlayVig store. Next, let's dive deeper into Shapeshifters and why they are so terrifyingly powerful right now. The powerhouses here are Shyvana, Swain, and Gnar, as you'd expect, and this is a late game option. What makes it work is really how intensely these units can scale once they have items on them. On top of that, getting the 2-dragon bonus makes it so Shyvana doesn't really have any natural predators. Usually someone like Vhagar or Brand would be good at hitting her really hard, but the dragon synergy removes that fear for her. So the best way to kill her would be to have someone like a Draven with a lot of physical single target damage, which is hard to make work with how powerful Void Assassin and Shifters are right now. So you end up with Assassins being your best option to kill a Shyvana, other than simply outpacing that player with better items or a higher level. We're starting to see 6 Shifters fall out of favor, as it tends to have a weak mid game where you can lose a lot of HP until you get Swain online, and generally Elise, Nidalee, and Jace can become a liability unless they are 3-star or have good items, but those items could have otherwise been given to other units. Once you have the core of Shyvana, Gnar, and Swain, you can go a few different directions. And so I'm going to try to position this as more, here's what you need and the options you can make it work. Remember, you're going late game with the 3 Shifters, and then you need at least one other dragon to give Shyvana her magic resistance. That's it. That's your final goal, and there's a lot of ways to get there. This means you're either going Pantheon for the dragon bonus with Leona for defense, or you're adding in Aurelion Sol, which is the only other dragon in the game, and looking for a sorcerer shifter comp. Early game, you'll want to look for Nidalee, Jace, and Elise if you can, though it's not really a huge deal if you can't find them, because again, your end goal is just the Shyvana, Gnar, and Swain late game. If you end up finding a good set of sorcerers or yordles, like Vhagar, Lulu, Tristana, Kennen, or Poppy, you can easily use these to transition into a yordle shifter build late game. Keep the 3 yordle bonus active with any of these 3 yordles, though you'll likely want to be relying on Kennen for teamfight power and Poppy for defense. Running Lulu, Vhagar, and another sorcerer will give you really good damage output. Just be wary of running Vhagar too soon, as he's really weak at 1-star. Otherwise, for mid game, if you want to just survive, running 2 or 4 knights, 2 or 4 demons, or 2 or 4 brawlers gets you really good sustainability, and then add some basic damage output with 2 rangers or 2 gunslingers, and that will get you through the mid game. Lucian is a great mid game unit, transitionary unit that you can put on a Ludens or a Shojins to keep yourself alive through stage 3. You can also get 2 rangers with an Ashe and a glacial bonus to keep yourself going through mid game as well. Most of this is basic strategy for playing mid game before you have a strong synergy online, and is definitely worth another video entirely, so I'll keep that on my list. Now, if you do get sorcerers, finish off with Aurelion Sol, then obviously add in Gnar, Shyvana, and Swain, and you've got your late game sorcerer / demon shifter. If you go demons, you'll be looking for Evelyn, Morgana, and Brand. And honestly, right now, Brand is a crazy strong damage dealer, especially if you just give him a death cap. So if you can get him to 2-star, just run him. And again, with Shyvana and Swain being your primary damage dealers, you'll be looking for Rageblade and Gunblade for Shyvana, with a flex defensive item like Warmogs or Thormail, female. You can even run GA if you like, but usually she's the last one to die because she's so dang tanky. Swain just needs Morellos and GA to work well, and sometimes he does get picked off early, so the GA is really nice. Next, put a lot of good items on Gnar because damn it, he's worth it. In fact, Dragon's Tooth and Darken make him transform almost instantly if you have another demon in your build, and once he's transformed, it's really difficult to kill him if he has the Dragon's Tooth online. And usually, against the Void Assassin build, you want to get the Teamfight ultimates with CC off as fast as possible, so Gnar transforming almost right away with the Darken means that you can shut down a lot of builds, because not only does he get tankier, does he knock back and move the entire enemy team, they get stunned when they land. So it's a crazy amount of disruption and CC from a single unit. Lastly, since Brand is so strong right now, you can flex in Elementalists at most stages of the game. Kennen does an amazingly good job in mid-game with a GA or Morellos, which, as we discussed earlier, you can easily just transfer those items to Swain once you get them. So a mid-game flex to Elementalist with Kennen and Brand dealing your damage is a really big pick. Then you can simply add in a Lissandra or an Anivia. Lissandra right now deals a ton of damage and brings a good balance of defense as well. Becoming immune to damage when she freezes herself, but not losing aggro, makes her a pseudo tank. And when she hard CCs an enemy unit with her freeze, it means you can win some fights that you otherwise would have lost. And that's all to say that we are living in a world right now where you're either going Void Assassin, or you're trying to find some way to end up with Shyvana, Swain, and Gnar with a dragon bonus, and then you just put things around those units to protect them. That's the 9.18 meta right now. But in 9.19, we're poised to see a lot of changes coming in. I'm personally very excited for some of the counter items that we're seeing in 9.19, like the anti-CC item. But if you're doing Shifters or Void Assassin, if you can force either of these comps to late game, you will likely pull a consistent number of wins out for yourself. And we're in a meta where forcing either one of these is basically all you have to do to play the game right now. And that does it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I want to hear from you guys. Do you want me to do individual videos like this one, going more in depth to the builds, what to build early game, mid game, and late game for that build specifically, and ways you can flex different options if you're not finding the units that you need? And are you looking for more specific builds on the game in general? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you in the next one.